Destination mark.
Hey guys, how's it going? Marcelo here. Welcome to a brand new episode of the Bandicast. It's been a while. It's actually it's been very much a while. We'll get to that in this episode. Got a really awesome guest. You saw the thumbnail, you saw the name, you know who he is. He's an artist animator, loves cartoons such as Looney Tunes and Courage the Cowardly Dog, among so many more. And as much as he'll say otherwise, he is a big Sonic fan. I have with me FezzedPenguin. Hello.
I am not a Sonic fan.
As much as he will say otherwise, he is a Sonic fan.
No.
Yes.
No.
Welcome.
We can just make this for 2 hours. Just no. No.
We have been trying to get this going for like the longest time. We have talked about you having a spot on the Bandicast, and every time either like I'm busy or you're busy with stuff, or like just nothing aligned right every time we try to do this. So
yeah.
I'm glad that we're finally here.
Finally, it's aligned, like the 13 planets.
Yeah, that's Crash too. You're Crash. Anyway,
I know my Crash.
That's good because I've got 5
He's
questions
a hedgehog.
for you.
Yeah.
That's wrong. We've been talking for like hours before this recording, just to let you guys know. So, as primed and ready as we are, we're going to probably be a little unfocused here and there. But, okay, so let's just jump right in and get into the questions. Starting with the first one, I ask everyone these questions. What is your history with Crash? When did you first get into the series? And what is the first Crash game that you ever played?
That's a very good question because I'm not sure how I'm going to be able to answer this.
Take as much time as you need.
Crash has essentially always been a constant in my life. Mm-hmm. From what I know, my parents got a PS1 for me and my sister when I was the ripe old age of 1.
Nice. Holy crap.
1-year-old. I either was 1 or 2, because the PlayStation came with apparently the dual case Crash Bandicoot 1 game with the demo disc that had Tekken and I only remember Tekken on that demo disc, but it had Tekken and a bunch of other games on it as well.
That's cool.
But at first, I didn't necessarily play Crash because I wasn't really old enough. I would usually be like sat on the sofa with my sister who was playing it. So in a way, she got me into the series. Mm-hmm. She played Crash 1, she played Crash 3. Didn't really play much Crash 2, which is funny because that ended up being one of my like favorites in the series, and that could be why, because I wasn't exposed to it as much. Maybe I don't know. But I think the first Crash game I ever tried, if I had to make a guess, would have been Crash 1. So I've been with the series, like, I want to say, for the most part, from the beginning.
Yeah.
But like I say, it's a very hard question because obviously I wasn't cognitive enough
super young
to remember. Yeah. So Crash has just been there all the time in my life, except for that one period in 2007 and 8.
Yeah.
No, it was 2008 where he just disappeared. He left me. It was sad.
Like the Avatar. When you need him the most, he vanished.
Yeah.
Activision made him vanish.
And then when he came back, I had like a spiritual, like, I sensed he was coming back.
We all, like, collectively in the scene, like, reached enlightenment when Crash came back. Shit was magical.
I think I mentioned it to you before, but when that E3 happened, I literally woke up in the middle of the night randomly. And instead of going back to sleep, I was like, let me have a look at Sony's E3. And, like, I turn it on, and they were just about to announce Crash.
That's that's fucking funny.
Yeah.
That does lead us into the next question, though, which is, which Crash game is your favorite, and what are your favorite aspects about it?
Crash Bandicoot 2 is, like, always been I want to say Crash Bandicoot 2 has always been my favorite. I do like the story. I know it's like pretty much like kind of simple. It's just like Crash, bring me crystals, you silly goofball, and then Embryo's like, no, don't get the gems, and Coco's like, yo, where's my battery? Bring it back.
Coco's like, what's happening?
Yeah, what's happening? I like that. I personally think of the three. I know you're asking for like the entire series, but I still think Crash 2 is the best
Oh, that's fine.
in this aspect. But if we like compare the three games, Crash 2 has the best scaling of difficulty in terms of like how the warper and progression goes. Like Crash 1, you will have like it'll be easy at some points, but then it'll spike up in difficulty at certain points, then go back down to being relatively alright.
Yeah.
Crash 3 is just easy. It's just easy, you know, like it's but Crash 2 is like, I don't know, it just feels, plus it doesn't do that many gimmicks. Like you what have you got? You've really only got the jet board, which is really inoffensive, and the jetpack, which I don't even think the jetpack's levels are that bad. If I'm completely honest.
I really enjoy them. Once you know
yeah, plus I love the music. Oh yeah.
Oh, the music's good. The music is
so good.
And we were talking about not too long ago. It was like literally like a day or two ago. We were talking about Insane's music. It was in your stream, I think. We'll get to that later. You streamed Crash 406% on Twitch, and you had a time.
Yeah,
but before
36 hours.
Right. So yeah, we were talking in that stream that the jetpack music is, from the way they did it in Insane, it's like one of my favorite ones. It's one of the better ones that they did. That the remade music for that is very faithful to the original.
It's so funny, the Insane Trilogy's music, because like and this just makes me wish we had like a picker where like, okay, for this level I want the original soundtrack, but for this one I want the remix one, because like Toxic Waste. Yeah. I didn't care for that in the original game, but when I heard it in Insane, I was like, what the? Like, this is like actually really good. What the hell? I've been sleeping on this.
I'm just someone who loves like Josh Mansell's work in general, so like all three of the soundtracks slap, but the original is my opinion.
Oh yeah.
The other thing too you have to understand with Crash 1's soundtrack, and why it matters so much to me, not just because Crash 1 was my first game, like ever, but also obviously my first Crash game. Like, not just that, but because like playing it a million times over as I've done in my life, I know the music and I know how it's supposed to sound, but also it's specifically done that way. Because if you listen to like Crash 2's and 3's and even CTR's music in comparison to Crash 1, the other three are more upbeat, they've got more melodies to them, and they have more stuff going on with them. But Crash 1's is very chill. I've heard a lot of people say it sounds a little more lax. And that's
atmospheric.
Yeah, exactly. And that's specifically because I remember hearing and reading about one of the behind-the-scenes things with the music from back when they originally had Josh Mansell do some earlier stuff with the music. The direction they wanted to go for, if I remember right, was something that was a soundtrack that was made up of different sounds and different things happening in the background, and like different, like remix animal noises and do this and make it feel. And Josh was like, no. And he just did his own thing, and they changed it and they talked it over and whatever. But what you get in Crash 1 soundtrack now is still something of the result of that initial conversation for how the music was initially supposed to go. Because you have a lot of these animal noises, these background bits in the songs now, and weirdly enough, bringing it back on topic, Insane doesn't keep a lot of that stuff. The samples that I guess they could get their hands on, they kept around. Like Great Gate isn't that offensive, but then you get shit like you get specific choices like Upstream's music, slash Up the Creek, that
Mm.
music sounds way too like loud and bombastic for its own good when it's supposed to be a more subdued song. And the lack of background elements like those like roars and like the gong and stuff from like Sunset Vista and Lost City, they don't have that in Insane. So you just get this loop of percussion with the occasional like xylophone, marimba, whatever it is, doing like the do 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 do, and that's it. That's all you get from that
Yeah.
song. Like there's so much more to that in the original that they didn't keep in Insane. But
Yeah, and once again, that's why I kind of wish like, and I mean, it's cool. Yeah, I would have preferred if they just let you like switch between the soundtracks.
yeah,
But imagine right if like they just allowed you to like go, okay, for this level, I want Insane Trilogy version. This one, I want the original soundtrack. That'd be like so cool to like customize
that would
the
be
music
cool.
experience there.
Yeah.
What would you personally say is like out of the three in Insane? Because like I don't know really how I would answer this. Like, what would you say is like the best, uh, in terms of Insane trilogy versus
The original.
original?
Are we talking
Yeah,
like full game, or which is the best game, or are we talking soundtrack still?
we're talking soundtrack still.
Okay, um, that's interesting. Which would be my favorite soundtrack from the first three?
I'd say for me personally, for the most part, I would say Crash 2.
Crash 2. I'd probably also say 3. Quite honestly, I think Warp's soundtrack,
Sorry.
Warp's Insane soundtrack, does because for as many of those qualms as I have with Insane 1's soundtrack, Insane
Yeah.
3 like because and I explained that away too from your stream. It was because Vivi developed Insane in the order in which they were trying to follow Naughty Dog's kind of footsteps. So they started with Crash 1, and when like maybe 70-80% of that of Crash 1 was done, some of the team moved on to 2 while the rest finished up 1, and then when 2 was almost done, they went to 3. Um so by the time of 3, whoever the sound team was, because there's no one composer for Insane who did Insane soundtrack, they I think kind of like they did some weird experimenting and they made weird choices with how they went about doing Insane 1 soundtrack, but by Insane 3 they were like, let's just keep it more faithful. Someone must have said, let's keep it more faithful. Let's make it feel just a little bit grander, but it sounds audibly, mostly the same, right? And the one that
Yeah.
I tend to bring up for that is Toad Village, the first level. Toad Village,
Oh yeah.
G-Wiz, Double Trouble. Like, that theme, the medieval theme, otherwise known as, is so good already in the original, and they nailed it. They nailed the feel in Insane. And it's funny because there were other, YouTuber artist people, musical artists rather, um, who did their own fan-made take on like, here's my quote-unquote remastered, version of this song. One guy I knew, not personally, but one guy I found, did a bunch of them, and they sounded really good in his style, and they did sound quite faithful. And yeah, I would say Toad Village is one that he did that sounded really good. And then when Vivi did it for Insane, it sounded pretty much like that. It was that song. It just felt a little bit more HD, a little bit more grander. The sound was clearer, and it was really good. So
Yeah.
I would say Insane Crash 3 has like the perfect soundtrack. Um as for the originals, I'm biased. I'm stupid. I don't care. I like the first game's soundtrack a lot. It's too good. I love that soundtrack.
The first one's like very unique because once again it's that atmospheric
Yeah.
soundtrack. It kind of feels like the music. I don't know what the right word for it is, but like it gets more intense. There's like a progression
Yeah.
with each song as you get further into the game, which is what you want. And Crash One's like the only game, well, other than 4, that kind of has like this one-way progression
No, true.
as you go through the game, because the other ones are just like, here's some warp rooms, you choose the level.
No, that's yeah. And even though level themes, so being able to recycle stuff has been a theme since the first game, for all 3 of the originals anyway. No, you're right with the natural progression of how softer the music is, and again, I think the soundtrack for Crash One like is very it's very appropriate, it's very consistent, and it hits the feel every time. Um,
Hmm.
or the vibe rather too. Like the jungle levels sound like jungle. Crash is why I love jungle music. Anytime I hear jungle music, I think back to Crash because that's what, of course, made me love it. And
Yeah,
so,
same.
so the jungly bits sound like like how they're supposed to. Um, you know, the Great Gate and those levels have a very certain feel. It's still jungly, but it has a different feel and it's its own feel. Waterfall levels have their own feel, and they're softer and they feel more home-like because the Crash is from the jungle. So like having that there establishes the early level, early world feeling, and then going into the ruins and stuff, things are a little bit more precarious, and like Temple Ruins or the Lost City, they're a little tougher to navigate, and then but you still have some of the jungle in there, and then by the time of the third island, since you're on Cortex's island, it's gonna be all mechanical. There are factories
Yeah.
and laboratories you're going through, so it nails that feel and it never gets too intense, but it obviously sounds different and it sounds like you're in an unfamiliar, you're in a slightly familiar yet very unfamiliar place at the same time because I mean Crash was from the jungle, but he was taken to Cortex's lab, so he knows that place, and so like, but the vibe, stays kind of the same. And the other thing I like too is the instrumentation. Again, why it's so important is because working with a limited like MIDI set or whatever that Josh Mansell worked with at the time, he reused a lot of the same instruments, and you can tell when a certain instrument came in from one level because you heard it probably like 3 levels ago. But not just that, he makes it a thing to tie certain characters to certain instruments or sounds. Cortex has that booming guitar, and Tawna has, her theme for her bonus round. Brio has
Yeah.
this very specific, I don't even know how, I can't replicate it with my mouth. I have no idea what that. If you've heard the bonus round, you've heard his bonus round theme, which is his main boss theme. He's tied to the lab. You can hear that same sound in the lab. You can hear that same sound for very briefly in Tawna's bonus round theme. That's how you know there's a connection there because she was still being held hostage. So like there are these little connections you can make just with the music alone, and that's why music. I'm not a musician, but music is like very important to me in that aspect. For having those leitmotifs, having those character specific riffs, sounds, instrumentations, like it's all very important and it's all very easy to miss. And it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of the story, but it's just those bits that he even bothered to put in there that I really appreciate.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That leads us into the next question, which is the complete opposite. Which Crash game is your least favorite, and what are your least favorite
Boom
aspects
bang.
about it? I was gonna say either you could pick the low hanging fruit and say boom bang, or you can spice it up. A lot of people have picked boom bang, so it makes sense.
If you want me to spice it up, Bash.
Bash. I mean, that's also funny in its own right because a lot more people are starting to say Bash.
Yeah.
Because you people are insane. I don't know why you're fucking
No,
completing that.
I'm just right.
A party. You are not right. I,
I'm just right.
it's my opinion that you are wrong. I don't know why you guys are complete.
Please you're wrong.
I have never heard a person say, I've completed Mario Party 100%. Because if they did that shit, they'd go insane. Why are you
Yeah.
beating a Crash Party game 200% and then going, that shit sucked? Like,
You really asking me?
why did you do it?
I don't know. Just to make sure that my opinion is right.
Oh, okay, man. Every
Yeah.
every memory I have of Crash Bash is good. I still love it.
That's cool.
I actually need to play Crash Carnival because I have all 5 I think now of the Japanese Crash games, but I haven't played Carnival yet. Because I remember
That'll be interesting to see.
I remember seeing a video on YouTube when I was a kid a long, long time ago. Like, oh, in Crash Bash, you can do a little special cheat and you unlock Fate Crash. I was like, the fuck? And then they were like, it's only the Japanese version. And I'm like, God damn it.
Yeah.
Well, I finally have it, so I can do it now. And I'm really excited.
Now you can play as the best character in the game, maybe. I don't know.
I just gotta do it.
I didn't play it. But I don't, to be honest, like, what is the, like, for me to say that hasn't been said before about Crash Bash. The story mode's just not great, and it's mandatory to unlock all the mini games. It's a lot of repetitiveness. The AI cheats very heavily. Does the AI cheat, and it's required to get some of these like gems, crystals, and even relics. I think later on, and every point of the game is you are going to see that you fail. You're just going to see that like on loop. Apparently they have adaptive difficulty, but like the only way for that to kick in is you've got to fail 3 rounds like 10 times. Which, who has the patience for that?
Oh my god.
Yeah, apparently like the difficulty becomes easier if you like sit through a bunch of rounds for ages and fail 10 times in a row.
That's strange. I mean,
yeah.
They've had adaptive difficulty as far back as Crash 1. But that is weird for Bash to have it, and you had to fail that fucking many times. I just remember
I know this because the PAL version of the game, which I have sought out recently, has a cheat menu.
Yeah.
And you can like see all like the AI target factor and stuff like that. And if you do fail 10 times, you can actually see it going down the AI target factor in that menu.
Huh, that's funny.
So there is an adaptive difficulty, but you have to wait for ages, which I don't know who would have the patience for that.
It's funny. Oxide is the final boss in that game, right, for the story mode?
Yeah, Oxide's the final boss, and boy, he cheats. The first section's not too bad, and I kind of like it. You're in like a little hovercraft, and you're like chasing him down.
I remember doing that as a
kid.
He
goes to Gasmoxia, and that's actually kind of cool. You actually see him go to Gasmoxia, and then you fly into it as well. But then you have to do one of those ball games, like and he will send out rockets sometimes, and that can damage you. Yeah. And he is very quick to block those balls.
I don't remember doing that part as a kid. I definitely remember the chase. I'm not sure if there are cheats to unlock everything or cheats to unlock just like I don't know. I can't remember.
Get the only version of the game that I remember that has cheats is the first edition Black Label copy in the PAL region.
So I
don't know why that's the only one, but yeah.
Maybe
Spyro 3 demo.
Yeah, there's that too.
Get Crash Bash, input the same exact cheat, get everything with added Homer and Bart.
Oh my god, the placeholder for the Komodo brothers. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. What was I gonna say? I must have been at least good enough at the minigames to have gotten that far then legitimately, because like I said, I couldn't remember if it was legitimate or at some point if it was with cheats. But if it wasn't cheats, then I must have gotten there legitimately as a kid.
Yeah, you must have got it legit.
But I didn't do everything. I didn't fucking go for not even 100%, let alone 2. I didn't even know that was a thing. I thought that was like some kind of modded experience when I was like...
It sounds like something you would hear at school. It's like, yeah, but I got 200%. Yeah.
And I was like, the hell? But, I mean, it's a party game. I'm not gonna fucking go and get everything. Especially
but you're talking to someone who's just like done a 36 like total. I didn't do a 36-hour stream, but I've basically done a total of 36 hours of Crash Bandicoot 406% on stream.
I still have to do it once. That was like your 4th time doing it. I have to do it once. I still have not 106% my original save file.
I am not a stable man, and I will do things that no other human being should.
Yeah, but then after that, and the thing is, you're setting yourself up for failure already because you have seemingly no motivation, and when it happens, you go, That sucked. Then why'd you do it? Then why'd you do it?
What? Log.
Did you say backlog? Funny.
No, I was saying that. Locked.
Oh, oh that sucked. Bruh. So when people, because a lot of people say the same thing, they beat everything, they did everything, and then they hated it. It's like, well, then why did you do that? It's
That's
a party
why I
game.
hate Sonic.
Why? Why didn't you just like? Because for me, I still like the game. It's still fun because even when I was quote unquote buckling down to like collect shit, I only got so far before I was like, yeah, I'm good. I've got the mini games. The mini games are the point of the game. Some of them are fun. Some of them are really fun. Like I love Space Bash. Space Bash is my favorite one by far.
I used to love that as a kid.
Still do now. I do, and I'm like, yeah, I like Crash Bash. So like me hearing that being the way I am with that, and then like hearing everyone else, I don't even think it's that hot of a take at this point. A lot of people seem to like to bash on Bash, but I'm over here like I will defend it. I'll probably be the sole defender, but whatever. I still think Crash Bash is fun. Boom Bang is very obvious though because that's a party game that just makes no goddamn sense. And
I got that as a birthday present, and
zoinks, my guy.
I think it was the first time as a kid I ever felt like I wish I didn't ask for this.
Oh my
I remember
God.
specifically sitting. I was on the first level. I think I was doing about the second mini game at that point. It was like the one where you were in a ball and you've got to like roll around on a rooftop or something. I can't remember. And I just remember sitting there going, "Oh God, but why did I ask for this?" But at the time, I was like, because I remember going on the Crash Bandicoot website every year and being like, "Okay, what's the next Crash game? What's the next Crash game?" And like that's all my mind was set on.
I did do that too. I did that through the Wikipedia page, not through the Crash site, because I didn't know there was... Well, not that I didn't know, because I did visit the site when it was all Twin Sanity themed, but after that, like, I just used Wikipedia to find out about, like, Tag Team and Titans and all that. But when Crash Bash came out, I was like, okay, I want a DS, because I want to play... Or rather, Boom Bang, sorry. I want to play Crash Boom Bang. This is before I knew anything about anything. No one, the status was unclear to me because I didn't have a DS.
I mean, dude, it was Crash Bandicoot on the DS. Like, holy shit.
That sounded really cool. I'm like, I've got the Crash on Game Boy. I love all of them. So, even Purple. I love Purple. I don't want to hear shit. And I love Spiral Orange as well. So there's shit that's annoying in there. Don't get me wrong. I mean, and it's mini games. Yeah, there's shit that's annoying in Crash Bash too, but it didn't like spoil my overall experience. So I'm like, okay, a new party game for Crash, awesome. Haven't had one since Purple or Bash, so this should be fun. And then for the longest time, getting a DS eluded me. But then when I finally got my DSi, I was like, oh, finally, I can get Crash Boom Bang now. And then of course, waiting that long wasn't in stores, so I'm like, fucking cool. And it wasn't until going to like a little retro game store, I saw it there, and I was like, finally, yes. And then I got it, and then I played it, and I was
can't believe it wasn't in stores for you. Man, everyone and their mother must have been after that game.
Well, no, because at that point, I mean, you know how games sit there for like a while, and then afterwards, when they're not the hotness anymore, they leave. So Crash Bash, sorry, I keep saying Bash. Crash Boom Bang wasn't there by the time that I finally got my DSi. So when I finally did get my hands on Boom Bang, I played it, and I was like, this is annoying. Like, this game is just annoying.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, damn, this is
got
weird.
the stickers popping up every...
That fucking pissed me off. I'm like, stop. I'm trying to focus on the minigame. Like, yeah, so it's...
I didn't even know, like, what was going on half the time in that game. Like, that game is, like, sensory overload, and it's like, what is happening?
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, they don't explain
stuff to
you very well. Am I old? You say that, like, the ripe old age of 13.
Why does Cortex look like that? Why does he look decrepit? Why is Pinstripe taking off his shirt? What is going on here?
Some of the character designs were... And
why does Crash look like a actual Dorito in jeans?
Yeah, some of the character designs were like really, the choices were odd, like making polar and poor anthropomorphic was weird.
I mean, it was all based on the ja-
Oh, it was.
uh,
Yeah.
the Japanese crash, but like with a last minute, let's change only crash last minute.
um, ironically enough, we only saw that was the return of Tana. That was the official return of Tana. For
Yeah.
again a while, we don't see her in Titans Return of a Mutant, but at least for a small. And then before all this stuff, Insane and Crash 4 and everything, like prior to her coming back in Boom Bang, what we just saw her on like a sign in Twinsanity and like little Crashes a picture of her in his house. So it was little cameos and bits like that, after the first game. So that was kind of a big deal, but to be in a game like that, it was just like, ooh, this is weird.
Yeah. And then you got Viscount, who, like, I'm gonna be honest, doesn't. He's such a weird, like, design.
He
I can't be the only one.
If another team took that character design and
Yeah,
Toys for Bob could do it. Like, and I was actually
Bob could very much like redesign him and make him look like he fits. But in Boom Bang, as he is, he sticks out heavily.
I was hoping he would actually make it in as a playable character in Nitro Field. He made it onto my list of 20 characters that I named off that I wanted to see in Nitro Field. Some of them made it in.
Him and Willy Wumper Cheeks, yeah.
Yeah, the two of them were on my list, and
Yeah.
Viscount, Viscount, however you pronounce it, because Miharu pronounces it Viscount, so I started saying it like that as well. But him, I was like, in that video, I was like, if you had to throw Boom Bang any type of a bone for representation in Nitro Field, this would be the one way to do it, like put him in as a playable character. Because you have characters like Yaya, who only was in one other game with like no personality.
Yeah.
You have
she fits in with the series. She definitely, I personally think she fits.
Yeah.
But I don't know, Viscount or Viscount, like I don't know, he looks like a fucking DuckTales villain.
Yeah, I think again in the right like artistic hands, he might be able to. Not that it matters now.
Yeah.
They're never going to bring his ass back. But like they had their one chance in Nitro Field and they missed it. But
I mean, you never know, Mr. Crumb.
that's true too. But my God, fucking Mr. Crumb, that was amazing. Or Swamp Thing or whatever his name was, Tree Thing, Swamp Thing. What was his name?
Mr. Crumb was so funny because it was like, just all of a sudden one day someone's like, hey guys, I know the most obscure character they can bring back, Mr. Crumb, and then all of a sudden everyone was talking about Mr. Crumb.
I remember that.
And it's like he came out of nowhere and everyone's like, oh yeah, don't you remember Mr. Crumb from the handheld?
Crash
And I'm like,
Bandicoot
no.
99X.
And then he ends up in a bloody game. It was like, a few years ago, I didn't even know this dude existed.
I mean, Beanox and King were fucking cooking, dude. Like they were doing shit that was just hilarious, but it still fit. The only thing that doesn't make sense is we've talked about it numerous times. Is having Rillaroo, which everyone hit his face, so they made fixed Rillaroo. That was the only thing that was weird. They're two separate character slots that didn't need to happen. But beyond that, bringing in the fucking iron checkpoint crate, which was a meme, and making it real, which Mario Kart Tour ripped off because they made a question mark block playable after that. Mario will not shy away. Nintendo will not shy away from taking from Crash. It's happened blatantly.
They've done it multiple times. Mario Kart 8, that one arcade game where the cars fuse.
Yeah.
You know.
But even Hasty existing because he was based off of Fasty.
I still love my description of what Hasty looks like in that game. He looks like a Spyro NPC character.
I mean, you know what? I can see that.
Yeah.
But being based off of Fasty, or Trippo, who was a character that got, as I found out later, because I think it was Bob Raffe who was it him? No, it was Charles and Billis. Sorry, it was Charles. What am I saying? Yeah. It was the fucking character artist. he I think said it himself that he accidentally grouped in who we named Trippo with the rest of everything else from CTR, from the original CTR, when he was doing concept art for like Oxide and other characters for CTR. And so us though, having that association of this character being, oh, he was an unused, cut character, and having that history there, Binox said, fuck it, we'll make our own character based off that, and we'll make it very known that the inspiration was that, and we'll put him in. And that shit was awesome. They didn't have to do that.
Dude, Nitro Field was such a magical time for the series. It really was.
You're not the first person to say that on this show. A lot of people have said that, and it's because it's true. Like, it is so true. It was a very much needed game, more so a much needed addition, because we didn't know how far they were going to take it. Just saying DLC, we were like, okay, what could they do, right? We weren't expecting much. Like, Nitro Kart was already confirmed from the very first announcement trailer, so I'm like, okay, well, that's cool. They said, oh, we'll do the tracks. I'm like, oh, sweet, CNK tracks, nice. Beyond that, I wasn't expecting shit. And then we got CTTR stuff. Then we got all these other bonus characters from just various games throughout the series. I'm pretty sure everyone you can ever possibly think of.
Yeah, we've literally all that would be left is like the Bearminator, Willy, Viscount, Evil Twins, Evil Crash, I guess, really. I don't know if Evil Crash would count.
For me, he does.
It's like really scraping the bottom of the barrel at that point.
Well, because everyone you just named are all characters from that video that I made. 20 characters. You already listed like 5 of them right there.
Rusty Walrus.
Yeah, he was on there too.
I really wanted him.
I thought he was going to be in because of the little references to him in Mega Mix Mania.
Mega Mix Mania, yeah.
I was like, oh, we're going to probably get Rusty. I thought it was like a tease.
They should bring him back in this series, I'm going to be honest.
That would be cool.
I like Rusty. Make him a boss fight. I think you could make a cool boss fight with him.
Because even the fact that would be cool. Even the fact that King, with Mr. Crumb, but also with actual legit cut characters that you only know of if you've played the game and seen the concept art. Like the pink elephant from Twin Sanity, like that was supposed to be from Gonna Be a Coco, and they repurposed him for On the Run. That shit was awesome.
Yeah,
they didn't have to do that at all, and it was really.
And
cool.
We had the Elementals come back.
Yep.
In On the Run.
Rocco, I have no, or I cannot begin to fathom, not Rocco, but I cannot begin to fathom why they redesigned Pyro the way they did. But everyone else looks fine. Pyro looks.
Didn't he look like an egg?
No, he looks like a flame. He has flame bits on him. He never looked like that.
I don't know why I have a false memory of one of them, like somebody joking that one of them looked like an egg.
The only one who could come even vaguely remotely close is probably was it Lolo? The one that Jess Harnell.
It might be Lolo.
Voice.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Pyro was done a little dirty. IMO, but anyway. That's hilarious.
Okay, I'm looking at him. No, I seriously think Pyro was the one that I was like, he looks like an egg. Yeah, I'm looking at his design right now.
And On the Run, he absolutely... I know it off memory.
Yeah.
And On the Run, he absolutely does, but he never looked like that originally. He's a flame in... His mask is a flame shape in Wrath of Cortex.
Yeah.
But yeah, we wouldn't have...
It's wild to think about On the Run past tense now, because that came and went so quickly.
I mean, it's weird to think of Rumble in the past tense. That I'm still reeling.
That's even weirder, yeah, because it didn't even last a year.
It was close, yeah. It only lasted 9 months.
Yeah. Which is an absolute shame.
Yeah, and we'll get to Rumble again, in a minute. Oh yeah, I forgot to address the elephant in the room. We talked about this before recording. This is the first episode of the Bandicast Rumble, where the game is done in the sense that support's ended and Twitch will be moving on to bigger and better things. So the other episodes of Rumble that I did, the Bandicast Rumble with the other guys, that was all when the game was still actively going, and it was still gaining support, getting new seasons and new content. The last thing we have rather to do now is go through that gigantic 500 tier battle pass, but that's
I don't know why I don't see myself ever being able to get all 500 of those
I want
tiers
to so
done.
bad, but it's going to be a lot
I
harder
do,
for this
but
game. It
yeah,
was easier for Nitro Field because you could still earn coins and other shit with people offline. It had an online and an offline. Rumble doesn't.
yeah.
Rumble's always online. And then also,
And that was the fear I always had. I think I even brought it up to you a few times back last year.
yeah,
I was
Rumble
like, I
not
hope
having
they make an
offline.
offline
Yeah,
mode at some point, but
yeah.
yeah.
I wanted a story mode. I really wanted a story mode, and I felt one was going to
Yeah,
come.
same.
I really thought one was going to come too. Um, but yeah, we'll get to Rumble. That'll be one of like the last things I ask, but
Yeah.
that's our sneak peek. Yeah, Rumble, as fun as it was and as frustrating as it could get, uh, you know, it was still a lot of fun, and we have more stories about that and more stuff. So let's go on to the next question, which is where things could potentially get fuzzy for you, but just whatever you remember. What were you doing to fill in that 8-year void where we didn't have any new Crash games at all? What were you playing? What were you
uh,
doing?
well, my memories are slightly fuzzy on this because there is some medical issues that happened during the start of the hiatus.
Yeah.
But long story short, I got into this other franchise starring a blue rat, and
I wonder what that is.
he, yeah, Mario, of course.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Forgot.
yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, Super Mario the Hedgehog, and yeah, I got into that series for some odd reason, and it's now one of my favorite franchises, as well as Ratchet and Clank, which I absolutely adored. That was like, I want to say that was like 2010 that I got into the Ratchet and Clank series.
Oh, cool.
Um, so yeah, both Sonic and Ratchet and Clank I was mostly playing during that time. But it wasn't until PlayStation All Stars, and I always bring this up because PlayStation All Stars was like a very. I mean, there was kind of some rumblings of people going, "Where's Crash and Spyro?" when PlayStation Move Heroes happened, if you remember that.
Oh yeah.
That was the game featuring Ratchet and Clank, Jack and Daxter, and Sly Cooper. At this point, early 2010s, like I was playing Sonic, but I was like kind of hyper focused on Ratchet a little bit after because I think Sonic Generations happened, and that was like the last Sonic game I liked for at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Until Frontiers.
Yeah.
So I was like really starting to hyper focus on Ratchet and Clank. And then PlayStation Move Heroes got announced. And then I was seeing people in comments going, "Where's Crash and Spyro? Where's Crash and Spyro?" Now, a lot of people at this point on the internet didn't really know. I feel like there was a lot of people who didn't really understand the history of what happened with Crash and Spyro, who the rights went to,
Yeah.
and the fact that, because for a while people were saying, why doesn't Sony do another Crash? And it's like, well, it's not that easy. They don't own them anymore. But then PlayStation All Stars was happening. Now I know a lot of people would be like, "Oh, the Smash ripoff." I was very heavily invested in PlayStation All Stars, and the one character everyone kept asking for was Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah.
Where is Crash Bandicoot? Where is Crash Bandicoot? I personally think that was the start. Now, I'm probably wrong here because, like, I'm just an outsider and I don't know, but like, I think about that, and that's how I found out about Jeremiah Isaiah.
Oh yeah.
Actually,
That's
it was
that's where
around
he.
about the PlayStation All Stars time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's where he got his start. He was one of those guys making videos of like, here's
yeah,
like the evidence that it could happen. Here's us pushing for it to happen because we wanted a revival.
yeah. But I definitely think that right there, PlayStation All Stars, was the start of Crash's comeback. Now I know it wouldn't have been many years later till Crash came back, but I think that is where the start was.
Yeah, and that
Because even when that game died, people were like, "When's Crash coming back?"
there were a lot more.
You
There was like
know?
a resurgence of people asking for Crash, and it was because it'd been a few
Yeah,
years even prior to that, and it's clear what people wanted were games similar to the classics because we know everyone's we've I've spent many episodes with many other guests talking about the reception of Titans of Mighty Mutant from in its prime back in the day when that was the current incarnation of Crash and the gang. People wanted something
yeah,
more similar to the classics, which is fine. I just hate the fact that people were not open to change. Because for as much as I love the games where you jump over gaps and break crates to get fruit, something like that was quite refreshing, and it added something. It added a new element to the classic gameplay because you still jump gaps. You can still spin into enemies. It's just they reworked it to fit a more combat centric gameplay style. There's nothing wrong with
yeah,
that. The games are still fun to play. The characters, I know they radical changed their personalities kind of a lot in some aspects, and two character designs they changed very heavily. But everyone else is still they still resemble their old selves. They just look different because it's a different dev team, it's a different art team, it's whatever. They're trying to evolve
yeah.
shit. Like let them cook, right?
Tag team wrestling was still kind of like the transition as well, because like
No, for
Engine
real.
in tag team looks very much like how he does in Titans.
Yeah, no, for real. Once Radical started to like, because everyone put, what people don't realize for some reason is that every dev team that got a hold of Crash put their stamp on it. Sometimes literally,
Yeah,
because one little thing I like from Coco's laptop is that whoever the dev is that's working on that game, they'll put their logo there because that's what Naughty Dog did. Sometimes they'll, obscure it but still put a red paw print on there to, you know, acknowledge the origin, and that's cool. Like I think Coco's laptop in like Nitro Field or maybe her tablet, one of the two from Crash 4, has a little like differently done red paw print because that's a copyrighted like logo, but to it's there
yeah,
for the reference. It's there because it's Naughty Dog. Um, but every art style change and every this, it's because it's the dev team, whichever one at the time is doing that Crash game and or has the rights to do Crash games at that time. They're putting their stamp on the series. It's their look, it's their style, and they try to stay consistent. But other times they just want to spruce the designs up, spruce things up. Um, and that's one reason why too that I'm doing my character analysis videos. I did the one on Coco. Coco's was actually very important, I feel, for me to start with because aside from video game crush, blah blah blah, all that shit, like she is one of the prime examples of a character changing throughout the years, the different decades in real time. I'm talking like real life years, and then also like in universe, just
yeah,
like why she looks the way she does, and growing up from like a kind of preteen to a teenager, and then reverting back for the remake, and then how they've done her up again now, and how Toys for Bob have handled her. So that's why I do series and videos like that because I love taking a look at the different designs and different things. And the funny thing, ironically for me, going back to the topic at hand, um, my personal story, which I don't know if I've ever told you, I might have, so you might this might sound familiar to you, but for me during that, it will certainly sound for any listeners who are watching this in the playlist or who have just heard the story in other episodes. Um, in that gap for me, since shooters were taking the spotlight, and also as a kid, I was following a lot of the franchises I already knew from PS1 as they were making their jump to PS2, their jump to PS3, whatever the case was. So I was
yeah,
mainly, instead of like, I saw ads as a kid for like Jack and Ratchet and Sly, but I never asked for those games, only because the games I was playing, what's Crash doing? Twin Sanity. What's Spyro doing? Here's Enter the Dragonfly. At the time, I liked it. Whatever. It's not good now, but whatever. Um, but I was, here's Legend of Spyro. So I was growing up with, the same series that I was following from the PS1 days. It wasn't until that gap that I actually, and after I got out of high school, that I started playing Jack and Ratchet and Sly for the first time ever. Um, but when it came to Crash, yeah, of course, I too was wondering, like, where is Crash and where is Spyro? Even outside of Skylanders, can we get a proper Spyro game back? Um, and ironically enough, through all that, with shooters rising and Modern Warfare getting all the rage, Modern Warfare 3, the original Modern Warfare 3 specifically, it was 2 first, and then obviously Black Ops and all that shit. Then 3 came out, and that was like the hotness around this specific era. I was in high school, and all my friends that I had met in high school were talking about Call of Duty and Battlefield and Halo and shit like that, and I had no
Yeah.
interest. And I'm like, are we all just? There's a shift here, obviously, but like, is it babyish to look upon somebody who loves Crash and Spyro or just platformers that are cartoony? Are those for kids? Like actually for are those baby games now? Is it babyish to see that in that light now? Like, should I try? Like, it wasn't peer pressure or anything, but I was like, maybe I should just try because I'm not making any friends. You know, meeting mutuals who love Crash and Spyro. That wouldn't be until I met all you guys. But like, for me, it was like I knew no one around in school or whatever. Like, someone maybe
Mm.
vaguely knew Crash or Spyro, but they never. They maybe played a few games, and that wasn't what they liked. They liked other shit, Grand Theft Auto or fucking
Oh god, the amount of people I knew that play Grand Theft Auto.
or Call of Duty or Halo. It was
Yeah.
something more like that. That was like kind of more mature or whatever. And so I'm over here like, well, shooters are the main thing right now that are hype. Like, maybe I should try them because every time I'd go to like my friend's house, like 2 houses down, and we'd grab some of the other friends from the block. They're usually playing Call of Duty, and then there I am having to sit out because that doesn't interest me. But I'll watch. But I'll just be there like, I wish we were playing something else. But then I'm like, should I try these? And like, I remember not even renting, buying Modern Warfare 2 on PS3, and I played it by myself. Shit was boring. Tried to rope Vic into it, my brother. He didn't really care for it either, and I'm just here like, this sucks.
I remember playing. There was one that had Nuketown in. I can't
Um,
remember which one. It was on the 360.
it's
Uh,
probably Modern Warfare 2 or something.
I played it. I was like, okay, and then I got bored. But even back then, I was not like everyone was playing Halo.
Yeah.
I couldn't get into that at the time. I have gotten into it now. I think Halo's great,
I'm still trying to.
but
I play a little bit of the first game. It's alright. I like it.
yeah, but I'm not obsessed about it. I was still like, thankfully, I did have a friend who he was much more of a Sonic fan though, and he is the reason I went down that rabbit hole. Um,
That hedgehog hole.
yeah, but he liked Crash as well.
Yeah.
Uh, but I would never really talk about it to everyone because it's like, yeah, everyone was playing Halo,
Yeah,
Call of
it's for that
Duty,
reason, right? Yeah,
Grand Theft
exactly.
Auto. Yeah, and
Anytime
it's
I
just like,
tried, they'd be like, "What, that one fucking like Fox thing or whatever?" And I'm like, "All right, clearly you don't know about Crash and you don't care. So what am I talking to you for?" Yeah, it's one of those things.
yeah,
But ironically, the game that I returned to, the Crash game I chose to play because I was bored one day, and that realization hit of like, you know what? I don't fucking care. Like, why? Because I tried to ditch Crash for a while to try and like, quote unquote, for games anyway, grow up and play more mature shit. I tried to not play Crash and Spyro, and I tried to play. I didn't give. Thankfully, I didn't think to give my games away or anything. I wanted to keep them. I just was trying to play other shit. Um, but the Crash game, ironically, that I was playing one day when I was bored, and the realization hit of I don't care what people think or say. Like, I still love Crash. Was Titans. So it wasn't one of the
yeah.
classic games. I just popped in Titans one day because I was bored, and I'm like, no, this shit's still fun. Like,
Kind of vaguely have a similar thing, to be honest with you, because like I remember when I was told like, oh, there's a new Crash game. It's called Titans, and I was like, yeah, I'm over Crash. Like I'm grown up now. Um, and then I played it, and I was like, actually,
yeah,
actually, and then I got it for the Wii.
yeah, I have mine
Um,
for Wii as well.
and I got Mind Over Mutant as well.
Hmm.
So I was like, no, I like these games.
Yeah,
So, but
and
it was a small phase because like obviously
yeah,
it was like I think it's only just came back to my memory that I had like a little phase like that. Because once again, I kind of blur those years.
yeah. For me, it wasn't that
Um,
long either, which is good.
yeah. So for the most part, I've always just been like very happy to play platformers.
Yeah, because again, like Ratchet kind of helped with that. Jack and Slight
Oh
definitely
yeah,
helped scratch that itch of just the fact that there were no new Crash games or Spyro games.
and Ratchet
So
had a lot.
no, yeah, oh,
Ratchet had a lot, especially for me when I got into it. Because when I got into it, A Crack in Time just came out.
you had plenty to go back
So
to. Yeah,
yeah, there was like the entire PS2 games, the PSP games, and the Future trilogy. And my god, those games were fantastic. I was also getting into Little Big Planet.
nice.
Sony released the Sly and Jack HD collections, and
That's how
obviously I grabbed those. Yeah,
that's how I played Jack that's how I got into Jack. I got the trilogy.
yeah.
Um,
That was an Easter egg present, I remember, which is kind of funny considering
nice.
the precursor albums.
um, yeah, it's just finding either rekindling loves for different franchises or finding new franchises. I've heard it all from different guests, and that's just kind of how it was when there was no more Crash or Spyro. Like we either just played the old games or tried some new things. And then ironically
Yeah,
enough, I wouldn't get into shooters until just a couple of years ago with Doom and all that. So I'm softening my opinions on first person shooters. Just the fact that there are so damn many of them, man. It's like they were the platformer killer. I'm always going to call the first person shooter genre that. That was the platformer killer for a while there, and it was that
they
era. It
also
was
just seemed like the easiest games to make at one point. Like
for real, yeah,
you didn't have to worry about animations and for the main character and such like that.
yeah. Only for like the multiplayer
Um,
shit, but even then, that like you
yeah,
know, Call of Duty had down and fucking Battlefield had down. Um,
yeah,
and they're still around, and they're not gonna go away. Battlefield, I think, has been
no,
slowing down a bit, but Call of Duty, as we all know, um, is still going. So it's whatever. But
barely.
um,
It's barely.
but I think we're, and the funny thing too is I think we're in another industry shift where now people are realizing, both can coincide or rather coexist, um, and I feel Crash was a big part of the like Renaissance.
Rush definitely was. I think Ratchet was kind of
That
like
kicked it off for
a
sure.
spark igniting, but
Yeah.
Crash was the one that like fully, not even just platformers, but remakes in general.
No, for sure. Oh no, I call it the remake Renaissance specifically. I forgot to leave that. I left
Yeah,
that word out. The remake Renaissance specifically because we wouldn't have had Spyro and Battlefield Bikini Bottom Rehydrated and Medieval and probably even shit like Shadow of the Colossus. Definitely not Pro Skater 1+2 if not
yeah.
for Crash. That I still feel
And
like the
all the Resident,
success is
yeah.
insane.
Did you say Resident Evil?
I said Medieval.
Oh, I was gonna say Resident Evil as well. I kind of like lump that in because that's all remix,
Yeah.
you know,
No,
and
you're
that's
right.
not platformers, but
Um, but that was the void.
and that's
That
why
was.
Crash should be in Smash. Anyway,
The, oh god, that was
let's
one of the
not
first
let's not
things.
get into that.
Well, no. You just unlocked a memory that I keep forgetting. I did that. One of my first videos on Crash, because it's funny how you say that. You found out about Jerry and all of that during the like PlayStation All Stars kind of era. Well, a little after that, right before the E3 2016 announcement, I started doing my speculatory videos on Crash, and one of the things I saw, which was fake later, not very long, not very much later, but like after the initial video I made on it, I found out there was this fake leak on, Huge Adventure is going to come to the Virtual Console on Wii U, and
Oh yeah, I
I'm like,
remember
I'm like,
that.
shit, that would be actually kind of cool because that could be that could spark Crash, um, kind of like remembrance there, and then with people wanting him in Smash 4, they could probably do that, which could lead to his official. So I was like on this whole fucking thing, back in the day. That was 2015. Can you believe that was almost 10 years ago?
Yeah,
Oh
we're
my
getting old.
god, we are getting old, and too, because how you say that the initial like crash spark happened around PS All Stars. I'd even be willing to say it happened just a little before that with or even just around that time actually, because of that ad that had the sign, the crash sign. That was one of the biggest things that Sony had Crash. At the very least,
Well,
they had Crash in mind.
that was after All Stars.
Was it actually after? Yeah, because it was. I think
Yeah,
it
because
was
that was for the PS4,
PS4. Yeah,
2013.
so it was
Yeah,
it was right after then. But
yeah,
yeah, so everything that with people wanting, Crash in All Stars, and even they wanted him in Smash, but the fact that it was very close to happening, it was actually very close to happening in All Stars, and then with the little things that Sony was doing with the ads and shit, and then of course Shaolin with his shirts, um, that was pretty much, and the
wasn't
Twitter.
Knack also like pitched as like this is an idea for Crash Bandicoot on PS4, but then just turned
Sort
into Knack?
of. I forget the actual story on it. Yeah, that was Mark Cerny's pitch. I
Yeah,
I don't know if it was actually for a Crash game or something that he likened to Crash, like a very simplistic,
yeah,
jump and smack around, kind of platformer. Because they hadn't done that in a while. Sony never really led the helm on something like that in a while, and Crash was their most popular one. So,
yeah.
but yeah, like all those Twitter things, who remembers this little guy, and it's an image of Crash from like fucking Titans or Twin Sanity. Uh, I remember all. I
And
remember all of it.
there was like the Brazil Twitter account was like tweeting Crash.
Yeah.
There was the 20th anniversary thing, and there was a password. There was a password for something. I remember it specifically being something like "I crashed my Bandicoot,"
That sounds familiar.
and this
I
was
do remember that.
yeah. And
That's
then there
so
was
true.
like a poster on a wall somewhere that said "missing since 19."
Yeah.
You know.
There was
Um.
I believe it was Arabic. I can't remember, but it was the one with the text, and it was his Money for Mutant design.
Yeah. Yeah.
That one I remember. Um, yeah, that shit was
And
magical. And then of course E3s were all been done.
then the PS4 history video. If you remember the original PS4 reveal, which oh my god, that montage is
Yes.
iconic. I love it.
No, I fucking love. I
Um.
love that montage as well. They had Crash in
Yeah.
it. They had Crash, and then
They had Crash in it.
Andrew House came out to the Crash opening, and I was like, oh, this is so fucking cool.
Yeah. Um. And then Sean Layden with the shirt and the infamous shirt. So
So good.
I still remember the night before the E3. I was talking with Cortex Aussie Pal
Nice.
on PS4 Party Chat.
Yeah.
Which, funny enough, we met over a completely different game.
Was it Sonic?
No, it was Disney Infinity. Uh,
Nice.
we just both happened to like Crash. Who would have guessed? Um, you know, I
It was in
remember
his
talking to
name.
him.
Unless it was
Hmm?
different back then. It was in his name. Yeah, that's Cortex.
Yeah,
Unless it was different back then. I don't know.
I think it was different. But yeah, so we were in a PS4 party chat and we were talking about Crash coming back. And I don't know how we got to it, but I went on Skylanders Imaginators website, and as I was talking to him, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna inspect this page. When I inspected it, we found like a listing for the Crash edition.
Oh yeah, that's right. No, I do remember that a lot of people found that exact thing out as well. I don't know if they found the specific box art for that edition for the collectors, like the pack. Um
There was no
Or if it
box
was,
art when I did it.
it
It
was,
was literally just a listing that said Skylanders Imagineers Crash Edition.
yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that. I do remember hearing the rumblings, and I think I made a video
But
like,
even with that, I was still worried, like, well, this better not be it. You know, like, I
yeah,
was like, oh, please don't let it just be Skylanders.
yeah, exactly.
You know?
Everyone I was talking to either wanted a reboot or yes, they did want to see an HD remake. That was all we were calling it back in the day. Um, and yeah, two of those things came true.
Yeah. Now, I woke up in the middle of the night, checked Sony's conference, see Sean Layden walking down with that the Crash Bandicoot 3 Warped Orchestra. Like,
I
that was
still
one of the best Sony's best E3s.
that was the best
Not even
reveal
just
they've
for
ever
Crash,
done.
but like in general.
That was the best reveal game reveal they've ever done. That shit was
Oh
awesome.
yeah.
It
Oh
was so
yeah.
cool. Yeah, I was watching it with my friend G Man Rocks, and we both like lost our fucking minds. It was so funny.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously
That's
that
all I could
reaction
think
still,
of for the rest of the day.
yeah, yeah, that reaction, the video and the full, my reaction to the full conference, are both still up on YouTube to this day, of course. But yeah, I had nothing else on my mind after that. I was just like, oh my god, Crash! Like, and it only got crazier when they actually showed off Ensign at PSX that year in
When they
December.
showed Ensign, I remember I was like in my room. I was in my game room. We used to have like a spare game room for me, and like I had like a settee.
Yeah.
And me and my friend were watching it on my settee, watching the like PlayStation experience. We saw that trailer. I literally dropped off the settee onto my knees, going, "What the fuck?" Like I was like, "Holy shit, this looks sick."
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I was close to tears, especially because afterwards, it was again me and G-Man Rocks, and at that point in time too, that was around the time we met Velizio, and
Yeah,
because he came into one of my Spiral One streams, and we all got to a call together after PSX happened, or around the time it was still happening, but I don't know if he reacted alongside it with us. Oh no, sorry, Johnny reacted with a bunch of other people to the trailer. But then later, we all got together and we were like, holy fucking shit. And Velazio found someone had posted the intro to Crash 1, and we watched it and we lost our minds. And I came really close to tears because I was like, I never thought I would see my first ever video game I ever played, my childhood game, get remade like that. Like, even though they said they were going to do it, I was like, I don't know how it's going to look. And then knowing the beats, and
it
sure,
looked
shit's different,
perfect.
but like, it was perfect. I was like, oh my
Yeah.
god. Like seeing it
I
modernized
still
was so
can't
cool.
believe that intro, by the way, is like all in game.
Yeah.
That shit looks
and
CGI, but it's in game. What the fuck?
but I know for a fact too, because Twan, I always forget how to pronounce his last name, but Twan, who's one of the animators, the character animators on Insane, that was a really funny story too. Cause did I ever tell you about that? I could have sworn
Maybe, but like,
I
look,
might have.
say it again.
So he actually, I was watching Jerry play. He was streaming. I was in his stream chat. He was playing Insane, and then even with some of my Insane streams, I noticed a guy named Twan, and I'm like, oh, he's cool, you know. And he would just say stuff and be like, hey, what's up, hi, and that was it. Um, didn't know who he was, so I just thought he was any other like fan or whatever
Yeah.
of like Crash, right? Just happening upon my stream, and then also seeing him in Jerry's stream, like, okay, he follows some of us in the scene, that's cool. Um, and then he goes, what did he say in Jerry's chat? He was saying something like, um, thanks for playing my game or something. And we were like, what? I'm like, okay, man, if you say so. He's like, yeah, I was, I worked on this. And they were like, what? What? And we didn't believe him at first because we were like, I was saying in the chat, I'm like, because Jerry, you know, having his face cam and everything, he was like, I gotta see some proof, bro. And I'm over here like, I want to see some proof too, because you know Jerry's been working on his Insane videos. I've been working on mine videos. Like I want to see something as well. And he was like, fine. And he goes, I have one picture that can prove it. You just cannot show it to anyone, and obviously don't make it public. So I'm not going to say what it was for the sake of keeping that, you know, respect of that original
Yeah.
request. but he did show a picture, and I was like, oh shit. Yeah, he's telling the truth. And I at first Jerry was playing, so he couldn't get to it yet, but he sent it to me first, and then I jumped on in all caps in his stream chat, and I said, "Yeah, that's legit. He's real. He's telling the truth." And we were like, and then that made him pause the game and check. And he was like, "Oh, bro, dude, what?" And yeah, like ever since then, every so often, like we'll see Tuan, we'll be like, "What's up?" He worked on after Insane and some other stuff. He worked on Ragnarok, God of War Ragnarok.
Oh yeah.
And some other stuff. I don't
Played
know.
that a few years ago. That was great.
I don't know what he's working on at the moment, but every so often, yeah, we'll check up on one another, and he's super super cool. I would actually like to have him on the. I never thought about that. If he remembers what not all of, but the work he's done. I've only talked to him once on Discord, and he was showing me some of his work and stuff and all that. And I was asking him like advice for starting into like CGI work and character animation and everything, which is still something I do want to try and pursue like in the future for some projects or whatever the case may be. But he's shown me shots he's done and like stuff like that, and he's pointed out certain things of what he's animated in those cutscenes. I'm like, that's fucking awesome. So that's just a hilarious story of how it happened, though, with me and Jerry going like, "Oh shit!" But yeah, no, the Insane era too was just, it was very much needed, and it was very much. People clown on it and say whatever about Insane now, but like even back, for those who weren't, for those of us who weren't complaining about the blades of grass or too much foliage or this or that or whatever, like. I for one really really appreciated just Insane existing, because it showed that Crash could still do the old style of platforming he was known for, and we wouldn't have Crash 4 or Rumble if not for Insane.
Yeah. So what we're saying is, folks online, please stop shitting on Insane, because just because we got the thing that's like better doesn't mean we should shit on the old stuff.
Every so often, Insane gets some disrespect that I do not vibe with, and it's just so odd and weird how it comes and goes in waves, because for a while people didn't like the animation, the art style, the lighting, which I do understand the lighting and the shading. There are points where it's weird. I get it. They try to fix some of it. It didn't fully work out. Whatever. I understand. Sometimes the momentum and the physics aren't the way they're supposed to be. I get that as well. I definitely understand that. I've made points agreeing with the people who have kind of bashed that a little bit. But then there was a time where people started to, because it was Insane and Nitrofield, which Nitrofield just borrowed Insane's assets. So that was the Crash we were used to for those couple years, 2017 to about 2019, almost 2020. That was the Crash we knew. So people were starting to get used to Insane, and we're starting to talk it up a good game. Fucking Crash 4 drops, and everyone goes, "Well, shit, that art style is awesome. That makes sense and look like fucking garbage in comparison." And I was like, "Bro, we were just appreciating Insane. What happened?" Like, it's annoying. It's aggravating. It's hard to be a Crash fan sometimes, because it's like, dude, what the fuck is wrong with you? But it was very much needed, and it's very much appreciated that Insane happened the way it did. Could have been better, obviously, but don't bash what could have been.
Getting Insane and Nitrofield back to back was a dream come true.
It was so fucking cool. Like, we knew Spyro was gonna come back after that, because it was just a given. But like, I didn't want to see another remaster, because I was ready for a new Crash. But the fact that they went ahead and said, "Yo, here's CTR again," I'm like, you know what? Okay. And hey, how we were talking about music before, like earlier in the episode, as far as the remastered music goes for like these projects, Insane, we talked about that. Reignited, I don't really care for the remastered soundtrack, but Nitrofield fucking nailed it. Nick Tremblay nailed that shit. It sounds so good.
I feel like Nitrofield nailed everything, because like they even touched up some of the models that like looked a bit funky and Insane.
Yeah, No, you're
and
right.
like cleaned them up a bit more.
And their lighting is
Um,
way better, and their again, just comparatively, their lighting is
yeah,
better.
I feel like
Um,
Dingle was like one of the characters that like got a touch up a bit because he looked a bit weird and insane, but like in Nitro Field he looks fine.
yeah, yeah, they touched
And
him up.
that's why there's like other characters as well that like got touched up between the two games that just look better in Nitro Fuel compared to Insane.
Yeah, it was cool to see their interpretations of some of those other characters, like the Nitro Field remastered version of like Velo or Von Clutch in Pasadena. Uh,
Hmm.
you know, yeah, Rillaroo. I don't care. Rillaroo was a funny character, whatever. So like seeing fixed Rillaroo specifically, I mean, it's whatever. He's cool.
I
Um,
remember seeing comments online going Rilla God Rue when they were trying to get him in the game. I don't know why that always made me laugh.
seeing shit like Megamix, the way they redid him was fucking cool.
Dude, I was someone who followed the data mine scene
Yeah.
when when Megamix was found in the files, I was like, what? Like, oh god, but also how's he gonna look? Oh god, how's he gonna sound? Like, I was just thinking, like, what the hell? This is like so out there.
Yeah, I forget if if the data mines had any like in progress models because they might have for Megamix, but I can't remember. But around
They
that time,
didn't.
okay,
They didn't.
so then around that time, funny enough, and I can't say again too much, but I had gotten into contact with one of my only contacts who have helped me with certain things. The pizza box, the Activision event. So he sent me um, the first few bits after getting in contact with him, where he helped us out as content creators, because they were doing it with CG. Usually, it was him that was. Sorry if you could hear that on my end. There's a jet going overhead. Um, CG would always get stuff ahead of time to show off, and he would like zipper mouth it on Twitter, and then he would later make a video being like, "Boom! Here's like all the exclusive first look at the new Grand Prix or whatever." So I didn't jump on that train until the last two. So I was able to join in on those shenanigans. Sometimes I would also share in with the zipper mouth, or I would share in with some other type of tease of like something's coming soon, and I got to look at Megamix and all of them a couple days ahead of time before it went public, and I also got to see Velo and the guest Moxie and stuff before that went live, before that was shown to the public. So that was really cool.
Oh, it's awesome.
I saw Megamix. I was like, "What the fuck? He looks awesome!" I freaked out.
Yeah.
I was like, "Holy shit!" Um, so that was pretty funny.
Oh,
Uh,
I miss the Nitro Field days. I wish I was more talkative around then.
oh yeah,
Was in the community.
we went through your intro like an hour ago. We danced around the fact that like, yeah. Do you want to tell that real quick? Like the fact that you were watching a lot of us before we actually met.
Oh yeah, I was like watching a bunch of like everyone like I've been speaking to now. Like I watched CGE, I watched Mark, I watched Jeremiah, even Maharu. I remember watching Maharu during the Reignited days, but I just never spoke because I was a. It's something I've been like slowly working on over the years, especially even just the past 4 months in general.
Yeah.
Um, I was a lurker because I was too shy to
Yeah.
really speak or talk or Uh,
Yeah. It's
so
really.
yeah, I've been watching you guys for a while.
Yeah. That's. I mean,
Sounds
because
creepy.
no. Well, no. Because there were plenty of people I found that have watched me for a while, but never really maybe commented a few times, um, or
Mm.
whatever. But I start getting to talk to them, during Nitro Field or during Rumble, because I can't remember if I had talked to like someone like Frederick, for example. Like he's been watching me since I think when I was speculating on Crash, or maybe even when Insane came out. I literally can't remember anymore. Some of these guys, they've been.
Yeah.
Zark is insane. He was around even before I started Destination Mark. He was around
Oh.
when we were doing our review show Trash Talk on West Side Studios. That was like 2013, 2014. Um,
Oh my god.
so we've known him for 10 years now. Um, but look at him now. Like now we're all playing Rumble together, and he's in our content and everything. And you know,
Yeah.
so that's the cool thing about Crash is that the series has brought all of us together. Um, and what was his name? His name was it Jake or something? I think his name was. I can't remember what his name was. Um, but I don't think he's around on Twitter or really on social media nowadays. But he was for a while, around the time of I want to say it was Reignited, probably Reignited or Insane, one of the two. Um, and I'd known him from it had been Reignited because he'd watched some of our content, some of my content, and then I went to E3 2018, and he said he was going to be there as well. And so we actually met up for a while, and we were shooting the shit. And then he mentioned to me, so casually, that he actually had been watching my stuff. He found me during the Painbusters 316 era, when I made that dumb account with my friends when I was 12 in 2009, just filming each other with my shitty camera, like doing stupid like jackass stunts.
Oh my god.
And I was like, what? Like that's whenever anyone says they've seen Painbusters, that really throws me for a loop because that was so long ago. It's like, bro, you should not be watching that content. That shit's cringe. It's us failing to be funny, and then later when we grew bored of that shit, like I was already handling the channel, so like I just put up a bunch of like nerdy video game shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, that shit's crazy. It's always crazy when I got recognized once. That was fucking wild. The E3 before that, my friend Wes and I went to E3 2017, and we were in line for Insane, and we were talking, and then the guy in front of because we were in like the middle or so of the line, so it's all these guys and people, and then it was Wes, and then me. I was behind him, but the guy in front of Wes turned around because he heard Wes say something, and they were talking, but he looked at me and he goes, "You do Crash videos on YouTube, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." Your Destination Mark? I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Hi, I watch your videos." I'm like, "Hi, nice to meet you." In my head, I'm like, "The fuck?" is this how like Jacksepticeye and them feel when they go to like cons and shit? They just get noticed,
Right.
So I asked them. I was doing a vlog, I vlogged all the E3 trips, and I was like, "Do you mind if we shout you out? Like you're on camera for a little bit?" Like, sure. So we put him on camera. That shit was
I've only
so funny.
had something like that happen online.
Uh-huh.
But it was like, I guess like a cartoon reviewer YouTuber.
Uh-huh.
I think I ended up following them on Twitter, and they just messaged me and was like, "Hi, I've been following you since like the very early days on DeviantArt," and I'm like, "Oh no, oh sweet Jesus, God no." That's the only time I ever really had it. But
Yeah, it's crazy.
yeah,
Um,
nobody knows my other YouTube handles. I had two before. Uh, FezzedPenguin, which my YouTube channel is like not really anything to look at right now.
but no, I mean I do wish retroactively that you threw at least a couple comments like in some of the videos because the funny thing is for a lot of the guys that I'd end up meeting and talking to on almost a regular basis in like our server and stuff now, they just started by like maybe making a few stray comments on shit that I do like videos or just come into the chat of like a stream every so often. But that's how I started to remember their names, and then by the time we all came together for Rumble, and you have to talk in Rumble. It's like the best way to play is when you're all
Yeah.
communicating. That's why we made that first. It was Dave who made the original Clap Team Rumble, and
Well,
now
Dave
we're
is the reason we even like met each other.
Dave is definitely the reason that you and I met for sure. And then
Yeah.
Dave, hanging out in my streams is how we got to talking. He ended up on the Bandicast as well, and then we made the original. I think we talked about making Clap Team Rumble in like the first
You
stream.
did.
The first stream I brought him on, yeah, for it was Portal. Um,
Uh,
I brought him on to the voice chat for was Portal, and we talked about making a
Well,
the
not even
server.
in the Bandicast. I think you even.
Did we?
I think
I
so.
can't remember.
I remember like bringing up the idea.
Yeah, shit's nuts. And then that hacker
Yeah,
came and ruined everything, and then you made
yeah,
clapped Team Rumble, which is our current
yeah. I
server.
made it because there was like your birthday was coming up, and I know you were like. I think you were wanting like to have a bunch of us appear on your birthday stream,
Is
but
that how
obviously
it?
the
That's how it started, really?
yeah. I swear, like your birthday was coming up and you're gonna do a big birthday stream and you said like if any of us want to join in we could, and I was like, well, we're gonna miss out on your birthday, so let's let's make this as a temporary thing. And
Oh yeah. And then clap got
yeah,
dusted at that point. Then we just turned it into the new clapped.
yeah, because essentially we couldn't get it back because the hacker deleted Dave's old account.
He took control of Dave's account, and then he kicked me and a couple other people out. And I don't know
And
why.
banned you,
And
kicked and banned.
ban me. Okay, the reason why he banned me was really funny, and it's my fault in hindsight because Dave told me he DMs me and he goes, "Bro, so my account just got hacked on Discord. I can't get into Clap. Can you notify people in there that if they hear anything from me, it's not me?" And I go, "Okay, got you, Dave." I go into Clap, and I did it publicly, which was the stupidest choice I could have ever made.
Yeah,
And I tagged at everyone, and I said, "Hey guys." Something's going on here.
I'm a target.
Yeah, like I'm a immediately he got me. I'm like, fuck, I'm an idiot.
Yeah,
That was
yeah.
really funny though. Uh, point being though, like,
Hey guys, ban me.
yeah, right, exactly. Because I wasn't thinking. I should have DM'd everyone fucking personally, like
But it's kind of just like one of those like
individually.
panic moments. It's
Yeah,
like, oh god.
yeah. I wasn't thinking. It was funny though in hindsight. Because the only thing that happened was he banned me, and I'm like, all right, well, now I can't get in.
Yeah,
But that's when I got the smart idea of telling everyone individually, like, hey, that's not Dave in the chat if you see him, or that's not his. Someone's taken over his thing. Um, but point being, yeah, no, having clap and then clapped brought a lot of us together. Sometimes some of us for the first time, some of us it's been a while since I've talked to them, but a lot of people just go in there and shoot the shit and share memes and whatever, and it's a good time.
yeah.
So we're here. It's the final question. Um, this was originally about Crash 4 because the Bandicast started when Crash 4 was the hotness, but now I'm going to just kind of group them both together, especially because, again, now this is where it's prominent. You just 106% in Crash 4 again. So,
Yeah.
how much did you enjoy both Crash 4 and Crash Team Rumble? And what are your overall thoughts and opinions on the games? What are your, like, favorite and least favorite aspects of, like, both those games?
Oh god, this is tough because like I feel like both games are a roller coaster in of themselves.
Yeah. No, for real.
Um, I'll just say this right now. Me with the Crash series, I love this series so much that I feel like if you truly love a franchise, you will critique it
Oh, for sure.
because you want it to be better.
Yeah.
Crash 4, when it first came out, I was so hyped. But it was very difficult. And of course, I didn't like that. So for the longest time, I've been saying I did not like Crash 4. Over the years, I have grown softer and softer to it to the point where I'm even better at the game now because I've kept going back to it.
Yeah.
Just because I said I don't like the game doesn't mean I'm never playing it again. We brought this up with Crash Bash. I keep going back to that game as well for some reason, despite saying I don't like it. But it's because it's Crash. I keep going back to it. That's how much I love the series, even if I can critique certain games.
And it's funny because
Um,
the way you critique, again, and the way most of us in our circle critique, it's different from how you see other people do it because they do it so harshly and they do it without, like, backing
mhm.
up certain things about what we might bring up in rebuttal, and that's what debating and talking about and conversing about the opinion side of it. That's what it's all about. They're like little miniature debates, really. Um,
Yeah.
and I like it in that aspect because I like to like go back and forth. But some people can get too like tighten it with their opinion that they cannot let it go, and they're a little too close minded. That because funny, I shouldn't bring this up, but like initially, Matt Kingdom Wayfinder and I kind of weren't seeing eye to eye because we had such differing opinions on what we thought about Crash or Spyro, and he had like his dumb little nickname for Spyro. He would call the toilet the dragon and shit like that. I don't mean to call you out, Matt, like that, but it was funny. I remember it. There was a time, but like we're cool. Like we can shoot the shit. You know, he's been in my streams and stuff, and it's whatever. Um,
I thought he was a big Spyro fan. What the hell?
yeah, but and it's just the influence on different other people with other opinions and this and that. I mean, also the other Victor voice legend, same kind of thing happened. We weren't seeing eye to eye on our opinions on Crash and Spyro, and they were just so heavy opinions that I'm like, bro, and he's like, bro, and like, but we're cool now. So like, it's just that kind of thing where some people are kind of hard to talk to initially, but then the more you like learn about the opinions and learn why they think that way, some people are reasonable to be able to debate with. I even met Voice Legend in person when G-Man and I met up at E3 2019, and then he came through because he knew that we were going to be there. So he didn't attend E3, but he came down because he didn't live very far near the expo, and we met in person for the first time, and we talked about stuff like that, and we were like, yeah, we're good, right? And stuff like that, and there was that. And so but other people are like so tight knit on their
Toxic.
opinions,
Yeah.
and it's crazy. But no, like when you critique or like Miharu critiques or anyone else critiques, um it's very like justified in what you're saying and why you think that way. So I get it.
Man, maybe I should do reviews.
Ooh, you
Go.
should. That'd be fun.
And that's the thing. I'll say that, like, just to back it up even more, but, like, I've had people say to me, and it's even when it comes to Sonic, why do I keep playing these games when I hate them? I'm trying to find something. I'm trying to think of ways how I feel about the game. I don't want to just say game bad. I know I have said game bad in the past, like Sonic Colors, but I want to see why it's bad, why I don't like it, what,
Exactly.
Is there something I'm missing? And with Crash 4, there was stuff I was missing. I just needed to get fucking good. But there are problems with Crash 4. It is not the perfect game. I have said it on my last stream when I was 106%ing it.
Yeah.
Cortex is a problem. He's terrible. I don't like the timeline levels.
Yeah.
Some of the time trials are bought, and hitboxes. If anyone's seen those streams, the hitboxes are so junk to the point where I casually broke 2 nitro crates without dying.
Back to back. I clipped
Back
it.
to back.
I clipped it. That shit was
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
That, and see, I can't speak for every other type of hitbox in the game. At least with that, I know why the nitros are coded like that, and it has to do just by context clues alone. No one told me this, but like based off context clues alone, I think they have to work like that because of Kapunawa. Because being able to jump on them in general, Kapunawa slows things down. So there's probably like a time limit on how long you can step on a nitro before it actually affects you, and it's probably insanely small when you don't have Kapunawa. But it grows the length of time grows bigger probably when you have her. So there is this small window where you can do it. It's just really hard. And they probably thought no one can hit that window, so we're fine. But no, as it turns out, it's actually not that hard to hit. It's tough to do consistently, but every so often when it's an accident, it still happens. And I've seen many accounts of people. I've done it myself, and Fez has done it. I've seen the Ken Icarus video where at his streams where he did it. Everyone does it. Miharu's done it. So like
Yeah. Crash 4 is a good game. I like it. It's my second favorite Crash game nowadays, but it has problems. that I hope in a sequel
They iron out.
aren't there.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially even the difficulty. Like, I don't mind hard difficulty, but there is a thing as, like, maybe this is a bit much.
Too much, exactly. I've said that too.
And yeah, and as bad as it sounds, we kind of need the games can be challenging, but we kind of need them to be accessible for newer players.
Yeah.
There is no way in hell I can recommend Crash Bandicoot 4 to someone new to the series.
Yeah, that makes
And
sense.
that's also a problem, you know? Maybe
Yeah.
maybe add a difficulty option in a future game or something. Like, let's calm down a little.
Well, because like I said too, this ties back into the adaptive difficulty thing. Even the original trilogy had it. If you die a certain amount of times, you'll get an Aku Aku. I think you'll get two later. Then I think after that, if you keep dying, and see, it's very selective. It's if you're dying on a certain spot. If you're dying on a certain
Yeah.
spot in a level, you'll get these Akus and everything, and then a future crate that's up ahead that you can hit, they'll randomly turn into a checkpoint. So you can at least kind
Yeah.
of get past where you were getting stuck, but it doesn't handhold you too much. And that balance, that subtle balance, mind you, is what I like about Crash the most. Is that it knew the Naughty Dog games knew how to like gauge. Same thing with the rubber banding with the boulders. If you were having trouble with the boulders, they were too fast. If you died at least 10 or so times, the boulder would get slower. Not too much, but enough. It hang back quite a bit away from Crash instead of being right up on your ass. So like it's little things like that that are really appreciative, and Crash 4 just, to my knowledge, doesn't have that because Aku is very rare to come across in Crash 4 in general. Like,
Yeah.
you'd be hard pressed
You
to
really
remember
only see the triple Aku mostly when you do the time trials.
2 or 3 times in the main game. Like 2 or 3 times you see Invincible Aku.
Yeah.
Yeah, more in the time trials. Because one of the things about the time trials that I don't like this time around, not only for the platinum time trial relics being the one you have to get, but um the crates and how they're changed and what they're changed to is not the same as the original. In the original game, all the crates, like any Nitro or TNT that were in the level during normal crystal and gem gathering gameplay, stayed the same, I think. Every other crate that gave you 1-ups or Wumpa Fruit, those all were changed to just normal ass crates, no question mark, no bouncy crate, no arrow crate. Um, all changed to just regular crates. I mean, Arrow might have still been there, but that didn't give you anything. That did give you no Wumpa because Wumpa doesn't count for the time trials. So that was the
Yeah.
only real. And then some select boxes were changed to Aku Akus. That was it. That was about the most that the crates changed when you flip over into time trial mode. In Crash 4, some of them just become TNT and
The fire
Nitros
crates.
at random. Well, no, not even that. There is that, but yes, but TNT and Nitros just kind of become interspersed throughout the entire level where they weren't there before, and now it's like the level you have to play the level a whole other way, and you have to be fast, and that
Yep.
threw me off hardcore. I was like, I don't want to do this. I do not want to do this. Why are you making me do this? And platinum of all things, why am I doing this? It was
Yeah.
too much. Yeah, that is too much. Um, but on the other hand,
I would say if anyone's having trouble with platinum time trials, what's helped me is look up Abdul's guide,
yeah, Abdul.
the platinum time trials without the triple spin. Now I needed to do the triple spin to get them, but his guide without the triple spin will make you think differently about what routes to take,
It'll save you a
how
lot
to
of
take
headaches.
certain, yeah,
That's what I'm gonna follow when I eventually, inevitably, um,
yeah.
do the time trials. I want the luxury of also and the satisfaction of being with you guys in the 106% club. Fucking Kevin over here doing it 3,000 times over on all consoles.
Yeah.
Kevin's crazy for that, but I respect it. If you can do it that many times and he's confident, I respect it.
I mean, I'll probably end up doing it again at some point, but I need a break.
Take a break first. Exactly. Um, and
I
if
guess all we've got left to talk about now is Rumble.
Rumble, yeah, Rumble. It was fun, but like Crash 4, it also had like its. I mean, like Crash 4 in concept, it was a fun game that has its weird stuff. Unlike Crash 4, it's not like the exact same weird stuff. I mean, sort of, but not quite. But yeah, you can get started on that. Like, what
I
are your
would
thoughts on Rumble?
I would say Rumble is a roller coaster for me with how I feel
Uh huh.
about it. It was a game that personally I don't think was that necessary.
Yeah.
Um, but like we said earlier, I met like you and a bunch of other people through that game, so in a sense, I kind of have an attachment to it.
Yeah.
I loved the beta. The beta was the best time, and season one was like honestly, it was kind of peak Crash Team Rumble for me.
It was really
Um,
fun.
yeah, like I was wanting to play it all the time, but I feel like somewhere during the end of season one to like maybe mid season two is where I was like starting to kind of fall off it and wasn't really playing it as much.
Yeah.
Um, because I don't know if it was like the falling player base, which brings more amount of people who are just playing the game constantly, which fair dues if you like the game and you're getting really good at it, but I don't know, like for me it was like after a while it felt like if I have a break from this game I'm not going to be able to keep up, and I couldn't, and it stopped being fun at that point, and I am upset that the game ended. I am, because I feel every time there was a new season I felt renewed. I felt refreshed. I felt
Yeah.
excited.
Yeah.
You know, party mode being added. Season three's roadmap I thought was the best roadmap they've done.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the amount of content that was coming out, the way it was all being brought out, thought it was perfect. But then the game ended, and like three of the two seasons were Spyro seasons, which like I don't mind Spyro. I like Spyro,
Yeah.
but the game's called Crash Team Rumble.
um,
Not Spyro Team Rumble.
and the more I'm thinking about it, as you're saying all this too, like I think as well, knowing a lot that we even can't talk about, but even what we can talk about, like knowing the development of how Rumble and Crash 4 kind of happened, even Toys for Bob themselves alluded to and made fun of it, like, oh, which was made first, Rumble or Crash 4? Even we've forgotten, and shit like that.
Yeah.
Um, Even beyond all that, like, I don't. It's not really Toys for Bob's fault that this ended up happening, but
No.
I think with our opinions on how you're saying how these three seasons panned out. I mean, first off, having a season be 3 months long instead of having a month long thing like Nitrofield did every month. So you constantly have new shit to do, but and for them, they have new shit to make for every month of content. For Beanox, I think they were a big enough team and they had enough leeway to be able to do such a thing. But for Toys for Bob, again, the
I
scape
think Beanox
changed.
did it ahead of time.
They probably did as well. But the scape
Yeah.
changed and stuff within Activision were getting funky and weird and that shit. And then we were just out of COVID, so that shit started to change.
And then the
And
acquisition.
acquisition, other stuff like that, shit was changing. So what we have are 2 seasons full of experimentation because the first season was there to get everyone affiliated with the game, acclimated rather with the game, right? How it
Yeah.
works, who does what the roles are, how maps work, how relic stations work, stuff like that. That was season one, the beta slash season one. Season two, there was more experimentation going because now that everyone's used to the way the game plays, now they're adding in a bunch of modes. Party mode's the main focus. So now they have to figure out how to rotate out modes and stuff. and with party mode being a mainstay, there was that. So I had more for us to chew on, which was awesome because I remember when me and CG and Dave all had that one little collab where we just like went ham on season 2, and it was a lot of fun. But beyond that, that's also simultaneously when stuff started to change with the character balancing, and now they're realizing, oh, Crash and Coco can knock Dingo out of his spin, so we gotta change that, and now this can't do this anymore, and Brio's being broken and taken advantage of and being exploited, and this is happening, so we gotta change that, and Tana's not doing as well as we'd hoped, let's buff the fuck out of her combat, and there's so much, dude.
Like she didn't even need a buff.
She
Like,
didn't. It's
yeah,
so funny. It's like, bro, some of these things were just not. I don't know. And again, it can't be necessarily all the fault of TFB because how much time did they have, or were they even allowed to fully test Tana against this character, Tana against that character, Coco against this character, Cortex against that character, Dingo against this character? There was probably way too much, and with everything they're already doing, trying to keep on top of, and then season 3 comes, and it's at a time where they're already shifting onto something new. So
yeah.
that's why the game is how it is now. Um, so many like weird
I
changes. They
knew the
seem
game
weird,
was
but
over when they just stopped. Like, what? I don't even. Was the last event even like mentioned on Twitter?
I can't remember. What was even the last event? Let me check real quick. Last thing was Bang Swap, if I remember right.
Okay, they might have mentioned that then. I don't know. Like, I just felt weird that like they just went silent after that.
And it was probably too because that was probably when they got the news of whatever was happening, or the
Yeah,
layoffs and the studio closure. So much happened to them around that time that like, and again with those layoffs, that sliced the team down like so much that it's like, dude, what do you even do at that point? Like,
yeah,
first they're telling you, okay, you're not going to have nearly as many people as you did. Also, you can't even work in your own studio anymore. Also, this game is still in production. It's a live service. You're doing wrap that shit up. We're going to go to the next one, which is what they're teasing right now. We're hoping it's Spyro. Um,
yeah,
and from there, it's like, okay, yeah. I mean, how with so much shit happening so rapidly, how do you wrap up a live service game like I said, Beanox, none of that shit happened to them. So Nitro Field felt like a complete package. It had online and offline. It had so many characters, so many customizations, so many maps, all right there. You could buy your packs. There were MTX. They didn't make a big deal out of it. Activision requested it. They shoved it off to the side. That was fucking funny of them and cool. And that was that. Nitro Fuel was a complete package. Rumble, like, it just came at a weird time where even though the game was so much fun, it just had all these things where even with Toys for Bob looking at different characters, trying to balance stuff out, and then stuff got weird in that department, and then all this stuff and how it was just handled, like, again, you kind of can't fault TFB totally. It was kind of out of their
yeah.
control, really.
Crash Team Rumble was poor timing.
A great
If
concept,
I'm gonna be honest, it was,
executed in the weird
yeah.
time. Yeah.
I
Um,
mean, God, 2023 was the year when I remember we were just hearing like a bunch of like live service games were being shut down, like some that were even months old, and I feel like that was kind of like an omen when you really think about it. And then obviously the Activision acquisition. I feel like Rumble would have, and I mean this definitely, but like I feel if Rumble came out a year after, or even a few months after Crash 4, it would have lived a little longer,
and
and people would have been so annoyed by it.
the
But the
thing,
fact that there was 3 months, 3 years, sorry, of
yeah,
wait for the next Crash game, and it's like here it is. And it's a weird little like experimental party game.
the thing was though that it was supposed to. If you remember, there was a leaked
Yeah,
roadmap for the development, and it was supposed to. But then the Call of Duty shit happened, and
Yeah.
Activision made everyone work on Call of Duty for a while. They had to stop everything. That was back when it was still Wumpa League. That was back when the original prototype was shown off. And then after all that, I think they kind of reevaluated how they wanted to do the game. This is where shit gets fuzzy. Other people know the story better than I do, of course. And it seems they retooled a lot of the shit pretty much from the ground up. It's almost like development just rebooted. And that's why
I
there
think
is
it
that gap
did. Yeah.
where we didn't hear much. That's why the pinatas were the first thing. That was supposed to signify that the announcement was going to come. Because I don't know if CG got it, he might have, but some other people got the pinata. It wasn't too many people. It was like a small handful, literally. They got the pinata, and then nothing. And I
Yeah.
was thinking they were probably going to have, because I think it was the PlayStation showcase, which just so happened to have dropped on Crash's 25th birthday, the anniversary. That was the date set for that PlayStation showcase. I think they were going to show it there, but whatever happened, behind the scenes happened, and then we didn't hear about Wumpa League again until like Jez Corden started talking about it, and then this happened, that happened. I forget when it happened in the timeline of teases, but Paul Yan teased it, on the in the GDC talk. Um, but it wasn't until the pizza boxes, which I have one,
Yeah.
is when it actually happened for real. And I lost my shit. I mean, you can of course see that reaction as well on the channel. I lost my shit. I was like, oh my god, we're finally gonna get to see Wumpa League. It's real.
Yeah.
But the game is still fun, and the thing that people are starting to find now, like literally realize now, which I think is hilarious because I always felt this was the case, the game is a lot of fun when you're playing with friends. Like that's why we did the farewell stream, and again to reiterate, that farewell stream we did on the channel isn't a farewell like I'm never gonna talk about or touch Rumble ever again. It's the fact because we didn't do this for Nitrofield, but Nitrofield felt like it had something of a proper end. Um, by the time the regular content stopped, and we, content creators were doing weekly content, monthly content on Nitrofield constantly. And then when it stopped with the Beanox update, we felt okay. Nitrofield's done. Like we'll come back to it, and we have, years down the road every so often. But as far as it's now been confirmed, we have no more Nitrofield stuff to look forward to. So we're pretty much done doing regular content. That's what the farewell stream was meant to be for Rumble, for me personally. I still have videos on the way. I don't know when they're coming out, but I'm working on one right now. Depending on the timing of whenever this comes out. But I'm gonna still make Rumble content, and we'll still do Rumble streams. I in fact have plenty of streams planned, and there's a lot we want to do with Rumble still. But the regular content, the weekly events and stuff, that's all stopped, obviously. So at this point, we're not going to be doing regular. Well, I should speak for myself, not doing regular Rumble content for streams anymore. So that was what that was for. But that's why in the farewell stream, back on topic, that we did a complete a private match stream. It was to mimic the Day Zero stream, because during Day Zero and Day One, we played with a whole bunch of people. We were playing with, I think Teal was there. We had Kevin, I believe. I can't remember if CG was there. He might have been. And then that division event, if I mentioned that beforehand, that was when they had that little hands-on thing, and I was invited there. I met CG in person. That was pretty cool. So getting a little bit of knowledge way beforehand, months beforehand, was really really dope. Because
Yeah.
that was the one thing I remember that too. I remember people saw the trailer and said, "Okay, this game looks cool. What do you do in it?" Right? So that was the first hurdle, was trying to sell people on the idea of the gameplay. So having that hands-on event, they only ever had two kind of more closed down hands-on events like that. It was one at like Tokyo Game show or somewhere like that. Some other place they did something like what they did with us, but then at Activision's actual headquarters, they invited us over, and then that's what you see when you see some of that stuff, that CG&I was
Yeah.
in. Hell, you can see me in the very end of one of those trailers. They showed off a trailer with fans and stuff, and then it took from people's CG streams, some other people's streams, and then you can see a bunch of people playing at the end, and I'm there, so that was from the event, and it was a lot of fun. And being able to play and then understand the concept, because even I wasn't criticizing, what little gameplay we could see, but I was too. I also was curious. I was like, what do you do in the game, and how does the game work? As a game to play it with CG in them, I was like, okay, I get it, and boy, is it fun.
Yeah. Like I said, the messaging was hard to explain what the game was, I guess.
Yeah.
And like I say, I think it was. I understand why people are upset. They were expecting Crash Bandicoot 5 after 3 years. We got a funny little spin-off game, but
The revival so far has been remake, spin-off,
yeah,
and then a mobile game, and then an actual canonical title, and then another remake, or I'm sorry, another
yeah.
so it's been a little weird. I personally still feel that's like the best way they could have done it, because if you just dropped a new game out of nowhere, and it's not insane, it's like a brand new game, especially if it was Crash 4. If it was Crash 4 the way we know it now, and that came out as the revival game,
Crash and Burn.
Don't even get me started on Crash and Burn.
Yeah,
I don't think people would have been into Crash, because they would have been like, this shit's hard. Was Crash always that hard? Like, the fuck? And it would have given people, especially veterans, especially the veterans who remembered the Naughty Dog days, but don't remember Crash 1 that much, because it's very clear that they take Crash 4 takes inspiration from Crash 1 the most. They would have had a massive whiplash, and it would have turned them off, I feel. Like, we needed Insane. We needed a remake of the first 3 original games people knew and loved.
yeah. I think honestly, it was the best way for Crash to come back. Same with Spyro as well.
For sure. And we're still waiting for that new game.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed. Dude, I am going to be so hyped if we get a new Spyro.
Yeah. I think what's going to happen is Spyro's getting his game next.
And then maybe
and
Crash
then
after.
Crash will be the next one after that. I do not see another Spyro game after Spyro 4. Like, I'm just going to be honest. Like, I think people just need to understand Spyro takes time.
Spyro
Can't rush it.
Spyro's always had less games as well, and these are just the facts.
Yeah.
And Spyro's always been like platforming
bigger.
first. That too.
Yeah.
But genre specific, like talking about genre, he's cameoed in CNK, GB, in the Game Boy version, in Rumble and Nitro Field. So like he's cameoed in other stuff that's other genres, but he's never had a game in his own series that was a vastly different genre. Even the reboot, even Legend, those have all been platforming and like combat centric or whatever, action adventure centric, right? Yeah, to a degree, even Skylanders. So it's not that big of a leap when you really think about it. So, like, I think it's funny that people like really want like more Spyro games when yes, they do take a lot more time, and there's a lot less to work with technically. I mean, aesthetically and how the feel and the look will be, that's where I really want a hypothetical next game to really shine. But and that's probably where I feel it will. But it's going to be platforming. Like, it's going to be platforming. They're not going to change too much up about it.
I think the cycle, the way they should just do it in the future with these games is do Spyro, Crash platformer, Crash spin-off, back to Spyro.
That'd be cool.
I'd be fine with that.
Because there's always been a plan for how Crash games come out, and then with Spyro just kind of thrown in there because you need Spyro.
Yeah.
With Reunited, like, there was always that kind of plan. I'm hoping in the future, again, hopefully, we get some kind of plan about like, yeah, how you're saying, like a crash and then a Spyro, maybe two crashes, a Spyro. Um, but I don't know how far you can even take Crash beyond Crash 4. I do want a sequel to Crash 4.
Open world.
Oh, Jesus. Which
Like,
one? Open World Crash or Open World Spyro?
no, Crash, Crash, more open levels, Crash.
So something like Twin Sanity, you mean?
Yeah.
What's going to separate it apart from that? I'm not trying to pitch a thing to you, but like I want to see where your thought process is.
Hmm.
Because it's got to stand out. It can't just feel like such and such again. I mean, in my personal opinion, I wouldn't want like the next Crash.
I would say take a page from Jack and Daxter and like have, you know, funny little mask puzzles or,
That'd be cool.
you know, puzzles to get gems or whatever silly MacGuffin you want Crash to
my
collect.
God. Can we get a game where you play as Aku Aku? We've never had that. Is there ever anything in that you actually physically control Aku Aku? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I literally do not think you can ever control Aku to do anything. That'd be cool. I've always said,
Yeah.
I mentioned it very briefly in my Coco analysis video, but I've always said it would be interesting to have if you needed to change the gameplay for Coco again, to feel a bit different from Crash. Don't get me wrong, I do love that the both of them control just the same, and that was something I talked about in my analysis video. But if you did need to change up Coco's gameplay to feel different from Crash, I would love in a new game for her to have hacking segments, or and don't make them too weird bullshit like a typical hacking quote unquote mini game, but something but like something that's fun, something that's unique to her, something that's kind of different from the norm when you hear quote unquote hacking minigame, or just some bullshit, or not even hacking, maybe just like give her stuff to do with her robotics or her mechanics, or something like that, her like inventive prowess, like something like that to set her apart, so she, because that's part of her character, and for her to do certain things and make certain inventions for either the story to progress, like in Wrath of Cortex, or something random for her to do for the lols, like the butter machine or whatever in Titans. Like that's all we've ever gotten. So, like in my personal opinion, I think it'd be cool to see if you had to change the gameplay for her, something that involves her more with like her mechanical stuff.
Yeah, definitely give me like a platform, open world platform with Crash. Still do like the crate collecting. You could do some really interesting stuff if you like make it so you have to break every crate. You could do some really cool like puzzle platforming stuff with how to break certain crates and maybe add some platforming challenges, maybe still some time trials in the open world, give Coco some hacking mini games. I don't know, like maybe some vehicle levels with her.
The funny thing, actually,
I'm not. I just think open world Crash could work, and it would be kind of fun. But the way I think open world is mixed Twinsanity with Jak and Daxter, the precursor legacy.
And it's funny too that we're mentioning all this, and you say that because that just reminds me of Crash Landed. Crash Landed was pretty much going to be that.
Yeah,
like Crash was gonna invent. You had to like mash shit together. It was the what's it called? What's that mechanic? I'm thinking like you do it in Last of Us. When you put shit together.
craft.
Yeah, the crafting mechanic. That's what Crash Landed was gonna have. It was gonna be your reboot, and you had to craft shit together to make cool, like funny little inventions.
Have Coco craft it.
Yeah, and it was open world. No, for real.
Yeah,
that would be cool. All right, there you go, Twister Bob or whoever, Activision, Microsoft. Yeah, there's your idea.
Yeah.
Just make Crash Landed.
With Spyro, I don't know what you can do. That franchise is so open that I literally don't know. But I will give you another idea for Crash, and I've said it multiple times.
Yeah.
CTR2 with the quantum masks as a mechanic that can change the levels.
That'd be pretty dope.
So imagine driving, you grab the Ika mask, and you're now flipping up and down in your cart.
That'd be cool.
Somebody gets Lanny Lawley, and you can like choose what lane you want to go on, or what you know.
You can uncover like shortcuts that way. There'll be like
Yeah.
like foliage or like a rock. You could phase it out
Yeah.
and just go through. Oh, that'd be dope.
I
Dude.
don't know what you would do with a car, but
jump high. I don't know, something like that.
yeah, and a Kapuna War, I guess, could be like a catch-up mechanic. But
yeah, that'd be cool.
I don't know, like you could do some really cool shit with the quantum masks, and like I feel like that would separate it from and
CTR
kind of
or
give
like,
it its own identity, you know, compared to the other Crash Team racings.
that and
yeah.
you that maybe make something like that along with, again, what I want to see in a new Crash racing game, which I don't think they're ever going to do one, but if you did, that idea, yeah, hell yes. Also, what they were going to do in CTR 2010, which was the crash landed racing game that they cut as well, canceled, because the customization options in that game made it to where certain things you put on your cart would change the way you can interact with the tracks. So, for example, having the one I'll always bring up, in the footage we've seen that's out there floating around for CTR 2010, one of the things you could customize were your wheels for your cart. You could turn them into crab legs, and they could make you run along the water instead of going underwater. Having like squid, octopus, whatever tentacle wheels would allow the suction cups to allow you to stick to walls and ceilings. Shit like that would be cool. That mixed with your idea about the quantum mass, that's a game right there too. That would be really cool. That'd be awesome.
I've got tons of ideas for Crash. Spyro, I'm just like, I don't know, you could do anything. It's like
Spyro's tougher, which is why I made that blank canvas video.
Yeah.
But that's Crash. I mean, you got any closing statements?
I will say I've always been more of a Crash person than Spyro, just because when I grew up, I didn't really ask for many games, and the only Spyro game I had was the first one.
Uh-huh.
And it wasn't one I played a lot because my sister wouldn't play it either a lot, so I didn't have much exposure to Spyro compared to Crash.
Uh-huh.
It was only like, 10 years ago I played all the Spyros.
Nice. Yeah.
And they're fun.
For all the mainline games I played, that's why I'm streaming, at the time of recording this, that I'm still going through Hero's Tale, because I never got to play that one. And that's just from, like, will I, at this point, now that I'm older and don't have as much time, will I or will I not go through the Spyro GBA games? I don't know. I do own Season of Ice, but I've never played it. And I don't even own Season of Flame or Attack of the Rhinox.
The 2 Seasons games, but I tried playing a bit of Attack of the Rhinox, and I just couldn't do it. I haven't even attempted Shadow Legacy, and I'm not sure if I really want to.
I don't own that one either. So...
Yeah.
Will I for content? Maybe. If y'all want to see it, definitely shout at me on Twitter or like in the community tab or some shit. That you guys want to see me stream it or do some kind of video on it. We can make that happen for sure. I have a Game Boy player, so we could definitely play it via the GameCube. But other than that, yeah, like Spyro, like of course I love the first 3 games, and I grew up with each one, in chronological order. And then also there's the Dragonfly. Heroes Tale always eluded me, and then going through Legend, I like Legend. Like, I remember hearing my mom's, we had a game magazine, I forget which one it was, like Game Informer or something, and she was flipping through it at one point, and she saw that there was a little blurb about A New Beginning, and that was when I found out, oh shit, they're rebooting Spyro, that's cool. Stuff like that. So I love Crash and Spyro equally. When you look at it, I play more Crash games than Spyro games because there are just so much more. There's so many more Crash games in the series compared to Spyro games, and I know all of the Crash games a lot more than I know all of the Spyro games. But when it comes to the mainline platformers, you can't ask me to choose which one I love over the other because I don't. I love them both. They're my boys. So
Yeah.
I'm sure they're a lot of other people's boys equally as well. So like it's
Crash
not
is
really
my son.
yeah, it's not really a contest. But I want to see them both thrive, and I hope that with everything going
Yeah.
on right now, hopefully they can.
I'm sure they will.
But this was fun. This is an enlightening talk, and it was really good. Do you have any closing statements? Any funnies? Any noises you want to make?
By the Crash 4 plush of Crash where he looks like he's stung by bees. It's really funny.
He's become fixated with
Also,
that recently.
yeah, I love him. He's so good. Also, Mark forgot to ask me about my thoughts on the McDonald's Crash games. Really upset about that. And I stream on Twitch sometimes.
Yes, the plug. Watch.
But
Fezz's
seriously,
funny
you
streams.
forgot to ask me about the McDonald's games.
What
They're
do you,
vital to the Crash lore.
what do you think? What do you think about the McDonald's electronic games, Fez? FezzedPenguin.
Why was Cortex Disco dancing?
I mean, come on. The end of Droid Void has a disco setting, like right there in Wrath of Cortex.
Yeah, but what's his infatuation with it? Like, I need
He's
to.
probably an old man. He was alive in the 70s. He had to have been.
Yeah.
There's your lore.
Why did? Okay. I told you it was vital. They fucking reveal that in the McDonald's thing. So yeah, Mark, step your game up. I bet you didn't ask any of your other guests about the McDonald's games. They're canon.
The one I'll say this much. The one thing also that made me go about you, like, okay, this guy's fucking funny, is when I made that YouTube short out of when you went Toys for Bob. How come Crash went ooh at the end of CNK? That shit made me laugh so hard. Oh my god, just how casually you brought that up, and I'm like, dude, that is such a specific thing to remember and call out. Like, it's so funny. No one else would give a shit about that, but the fact that you pointed that out and I heard that sound in my head immediately made me lose. I had to pause the game. I was laughing so much. I was like,
oh yeah, I remember.
I was like, oh my god.
I like bringing up random things that no one thinks about.
Because I did the same thing. I just don't bring them up too much. Or when I try to, no one gets it, and I go, okay, well, that fucking joke failed. Anyway.
But the ooh is so iconic. Like, come on.
Ooh. If you don't, I'll
you know what's funny? Ever since that stream, I'm not saying I've made it like a thing, but ever since that stream, I've been noticing people on Twitter like post that clip.
If you don't make an alert out of it, I have to. One of us needs to. It's so fucking funny.
Wait, what?
Make an alert out of that sound. Out of yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well,
I should make that my save sound on Twitch.
Do it. I double dog dare you.
Yeah, okay.
Oh boy. We should have that for the clapped soundboard. we did at one point, didn't
we not?
We did. Well, clap maybe. We don't have it for clapped.
Oh shit.
Wait, do the alerts
well, we
work?
need to fix that.
Does that work right now? Can you do that in the soundboard? Can you do the soundboard right now? While we're recording?
I'm not sure, but
you'll be the
we
first
do
one
have
ever.
it in the old.
Can you make
old server?
Do you have a funny Crash soundboard that you can access at all right now?
I'm looking.
You'll be the first one to use the Discord soundboard on the Bandicast. Do we? There it is!
Booyah!
Oh my god. All right. Okay, we're gonna end it off there.
Ew.
That's not Crash.
Yeah. I just dated it.
Thank you so much, man, for being on. It's about time. No pun intended. Or pun entirely intended. Fuck it. Whatever.
Yeah.
We've been playing this for a long time, and I'm glad that it's finally here. It's finally done.
Yeah. Surprised I was able to talk for about 2 hours.
Let's go. Thank you so much for being on, and thank you guys so much for watching. I don't know when the next one will come. I don't know who the next guest will be, but hopefully we can get some more cool people on. we will keep going for as long as you want to keep hearing and people want to keep being on. So that's all from us. I'm Mark.
I'm Fez.
Always. It takes about 1.5 seconds for people to realize that we're doing the outro. It's so funny.
Yes.
And we'll see you guys next time. Until then, take care.
Fuck Crash Bandicoot, fucking orange motherfucker.